Good day everyone, my dear classmate and Coach Jude Martinez. I'm LEIZEL Joy A. MALINOSQUE from BSED Math. So for today's video, I will discuss about the motivational and affective factors. First, we have the motivational and emotional influences on learning. It is what and how much is learned is influenced by the motivation. Motivation to learn, in turn, is influenced by the individual's emotional states, beliefs, interests, and goals, and habits of thinking. It is the rich internal world of thoughts, beliefs, goals, and expectations for success or failure can enhance or interfere the learner's quality of thinking and information processing. Students' beliefs about themselves as learners and the nature of learning have a marked influence on motivation. Motivational and emotional factors also influence both the quality of thinking and information processing, as well as an individual's motivation to learn. So the positive emotions such as curiosity generally enhance motivation and facilitated learning and performance. And also, mild anxiety can also enhance learning and performance by focusing the learner's attention on a particular task. However, intense negative emotions such as anxiety, panic rage, insecurity, and related thoughts such as worrying about competence, ruminating about failure, fearing punishment, ridicule, or stigmatizing labels, it is generally detract from motivation, interfere with learning, and contribute to low performance. So that's all for the motivational and emotional influences on learning. So next is intrinsic motivation to learn. It is the learner's creativity, higher order thinking, and natural curiosity all contribute to motivation to learn. Intrinsic motivation is stimulated by tasks of optimal novelty and difficulty, relevant to personal interest, and providing for personal choice and control. Curiosity, flexible and insightful thinking, and creativity are major indicators of the learner's intrinsic motivation to learn, which is in large part a function of meeting basic needs to be competent and to exercise personal control. Intrinsic motivation is facilitated on tasks that learners perceive as interesting and personally relevant and meaningful, appropriate in complexity and difficulty to the learner's abilities, and on which they believe they can succeed. So the intrinsic motivation is also facilitated on tasks that are comparable to real-world situations and meet needs for choice and control. Educators can encourage and support learners' natural curiosity and motivation to learn by attending to individual differences in learners' perceptions of optimal novelty and difficulty, relevance, and personal choice and control. So that's all for the intrinsic motivation to learn. And next is effects of motivation on effort. It is acquisition of complex knowledge and skills requires extended learner effort and guided practice. So without learners' motivation to learn, the willingness to exert this effort is unlikely without coercion. So effort is another major indicator of motivation to learn. The acquisition of complex knowledge and skills demands the investment of considerable learner energy and strategic effort along with persistence over time. Educators need to be concerned with facilitating motivation by strategies that enhance learning, effort, and commitment to learning and to achieving high standards of comprehension and understanding. Effective strategies include purposeful learning activities guided by practices that enhance positive emotions and intrinsic motivation to learn, and methods that increase learners' perceptions that a task is interesting and personally relevant. So that's for the effects of motivation too. So I'm done discussing about the motivational and effective factors. So we will proceed to the next.
Good day, Coach Jude, and to all of my classmates. I'm Jane and Sanchez from 1L BSED Math. Now I'm going to share to you about the principles of the development and social factors and individual differences. But last topic is all about the principles of cognitive and metacognitive factors. And now, let's move on to the principles of developmental and social factors and individual differences. First, development influence on learning. As individuals develop, there are different opportunities and contract for learning. Learning is most effect when differential development within and across physical, intellectual, emotions, and social domains is taken into account. Individually learn best when material is appropriate to their development level and is presented in an enjoyable and interesting way, because individual development varies across intellectual, social, emotional, and physical domains. Achievement in different instructional domains may also vary. The cognitive, emotional, and social development of individual learner and how they interpret life experience and affected by prior schooling, home culture, and community factors. Early and continuing parental involvement in schooling and the equality of language, interaction, and two-way communication between adults and children can influence these developmental areas. Awareness and understanding of developmental difference among children with and without emotional, physical, and intellectual disabilities can facilitate the creation of optimal learning context. Second, social influences on learning. Learning is influenced by social interaction, interpersonal relation, and communication with others. Learning settings that allow for social interaction and respect for diversity encourage flexible and social competence. In interactive and collaborative instructional context, individuals have an opportunity for perspective taking and reflective thinking that may lead to higher level and cognitive, social, and moral development, as well as self-esteem, quality personal relationship that provide stability, trust, and caring, and increase learners' sense of belonging, self-respect, and self-acceptance, and provide a positive climate for learning. Positive learning climates can also help the establish that context for healthier levels of thinking, feeling, and behaving. Such contexts help learning feel safe to share ideas, actively participate in the learning process, and create a learning community. Now, let's proceed to the principles of individual differences factor. First, individual differences in learning. Learners have different strategies, approach and capabilities for learning that are function of prior experience and heredity. Individuals are born with and develop their own capabilities and talents. Through learning and social acculturation, they have acquired their own preferences for how they like to learn and the pace at they learn. However, these preferences are not always. Educators need to help students examine their learning preference and expand or modify them if necessary. Educators need to be sensitive to individual differences. In generally, they also need to attend to learning perceptions of the degree to which these differences are accepted to by varying instructional methods and materials. Second, learning and diversity. Learning is most effective when difference in learnings, cultural and social backgrounds are taken into account. Careful attention to the above-mentioned factors in the instructional settings enhance the possibility for designing and implementing appropriate learning environment. When learners perceive that their individual differences in abilities, background, cultures, and experiences are valued, respected, and accommodated in learning, thus, and context, levels of motivation and achievement are enhanced. Third, standard and assessment. Settings appropriately high and challenging standards and assessing the learner as well as learning progress, including diagnostic process and outcome assessment are integral parts of the learning process. Effective learning takes place when learners feel challenged to work toward appropriately. High goals, therefore, appraisal of the learner's cognitive strength and weaknesses, as well as current knowledge and skills, is important for the selection of instructional materials of an optimal degree of quality. Now, may I call on with Ms. LEIZEL MALINOSQUE for the overall summarized discussion for the task 6.
So, this is the summary of the 14 principles that categorize in 5 areas. First is knowledge base. It is learners' previous knowledge will influence new learning. Second, strategic processing and control. It is develop new skills to reflect and regulate thoughts and behavior. Third, motivation and effect. It is intrinsic motivation. Fourth, developmental and individual differences. It is learner has his own unique combination of genetic and environment factors. And lastly, the situation or context. It is learning happens in the context of society as well as within an individual. So that's all for the task 6 summary of 14 principles.